So you want to build an awesome robot. This series of videos is going to help you do exactly that. But before we get into any specifics about specific robot competitions or robot projects, for example, maybe you're going to be building a robot for FTC or for some type of battle bot, or maybe you're just building a robot to help you out around the house. Before we get into those types of specifics, let's talk more generally about robotics. When people think of robots, they often think of some sort of android from Star Wars walking around and talking. But obviously, robots are much more, or the category of robots is much more general than that. Today, I want to talk a little bit about what makes something a robot. A robot is really just an intelligent machine that can interact with its environment. A robot has a brain, it can sense what's going on in the environment, and it can act on that environment. For a lot of robot projects, let's talk about different types of brains. This is one of my favorite. It's called the Arduino. The Arduino is basically a brain. And what makes an Arduino nice for robot projects is that you can program it, you can input your own logic, and it gets stored on the chip. And then the Arduino is easily connected to different sensors to sense what's going on in the environment. An Arduino can sense motion, it can sense acceleration, it can sense light, it can take inputs such as buttons and switches and knobs and things like that. And then it can act on its environment. It can light up lights, it can light up a screen, it can send text to a screen, it can move servos, it can do other kinds of things to act on its environment. So this is a very versatile, very powerful, and very inexpensive brain for a robot. So really, one way to think of a robot is just some kind of smart brain that usually a programmer programs and can then sense and act on the environment based on those instructions. Another one I love that looks kind of like an Arduino, this is the Metro Express. I love this because it's programmed by CircuitPython, one of the coolest new languages out there. This thing right here is called a Circuit Playground Express, also a great brain for a robot. I love the CPX or Circuit Playground Express because the number of sensors that are already embedded on it. With something like an Arduino, there's not many sensors already on here. You have to add them. CPX, they've added an accelerometer, a sound sensor, a light sensor. There's already buttons and a microphone. A lot of inputs that it can sense, things like acceleration, and also some built-in outputs like a speaker. There's also several pads around the outside that are easy to connect with conductive string or an alligator clip. Very versatile, very inexpensive, very light brain that you can use for a robot. And then, of course, there's the Raspberry Pi, a very popular brain. The Raspberry Pi is nice because this basically runs like a full computer. So once you've got your Raspberry Pi plugged in, it's got its own operating system, and you plug in a keyboard and mouse, and this functions as a computer. Whereas these other devices, you need another computer to do the programming, and then you upload your code. So those are some of the these are just some of the brains that exist out there. Let's start with the Arduino. So our first few videos are going to be the basics of how to program an Arduino. Now, as I should mention that if you're going to be doing some kind of robot competition like FTC, really it's important that you just become good at making, designing, building robots, and programming robots. And the actual coding language and the actual hardware will vary, but really it's all about learning how to code robots. And in order to code a robot, you kind of have to think like a robot. So in the next few videos, we're going to start with an Arduino, and we're going to start writing our first bits of code. So stay tuned for the next video, and you'll see how to do that. Thanks.